Peace and love and welcome. Or welcome back to the palace of Persephone. But I'm going with warm light Persephone. Down, up. It literally makes it look like it's daytime in here. That's crazy. As you can see, well, you can't see, but I have a ring light. Thanks to my sister. Shout out to my sister Stephanie. Hold on, there's also red. If I can do it. I'm still learning how to use this thing. I got red. Oh, this one's a rainbow. This one's red. It's white, green, blue. Ay, ay, ay. And then I can go back to my original color. Oh, isn't that so cool? Let me take off my robe so I look a little bit more like I've not been in my pajamas all day, even though I have. My locks are still maturing, and instead of tucking the bottom under now, I've been trying to leave it out so I kind of look like a nun. But if I don't, my locks have been doing these weird curls, and I don't want it to look weird. So anyway, hello. Okay, this will be probably my final update before me and my partner get into gear. Mercury is still currently retrograde, so I've been taking this time not to put into action all these plans that I've been getting and receiving, both from my external environment and my internal environment and my spirit guides. But a lot has happened in the last week, and as an 8th house stellium, it felt like very 8th house stellium type things were happening. Last week, my partner's grandfather passed away very rapidly. We had just visited him in November when we were traveling, and he quickly, his body was not holding him anymore. And he has passed on to his next life, and I know that he's already either up in the higher heavens or he has regenerated back here to be in service to humans again, or he's a spirit guide. He's definitely a spirit guide for my husband. And then that same day that his grandfather passed away, my mother had to put one of her dogs down, which is really sad. And obviously, like, you probably don't believe me because of how I'm saying it, but I'm able to, I think, process trauma not detached or unemotionally, but I think maybe because I have at some points in my life responded to trauma so quickly and emotionally, I've learned to like process it, and I cried, but I was mainly holding a space for my mother and my sister and her husband, who shared more space with her. I did dog sit her, and if you watch some of my videos from over the summer, she was in some of the videos, and unfortunately it was a very unjust way that she had to be put down because of the lack of responsibility on the part of the people at the animal pet resort she was at. She was there over Thanksgiving break, and something had happened to her and no one wanted to admit it. They were denying it, and then the vet wasn't really being helpful, and it was literally because of malpractice on all parts of these people who choose to go into professions to care for animals, which is the reason why she had to be put down. But she is on to her next life as well, and I've just been doing my part to continue to remind my mother and my sister and my family that they gave her a great life compared to how she was living before. So those two things were basically the major points of this last week that I've experienced, and spent a lot of time too in this Mercury retrograde period sitting with my mind. Mercury rules the mind. It's going back and backtracking, and there are a lot of things that have been coming up for me in terms of my relationship with my husband, and I don't really care to hide anything about the things I go through or experience, especially if my goal is to share things that I'm learning so other people can learn and grow. Then I can't pretend like things are always just like, oh, everything is so easy, oh, this is a piece of cake. It's not always gonna be a piece of cake. Challenges are part of it, and so it was interesting over this weekend. I was noticing a lot of like, sorry, this is bothering me because it's sticking up. There are a lot of experiences that my partner had over the weekend that were causing some friction between us, and Mercury retrograde, being in a partnership, ooh, 444 on the camera when I said that, being in a relationship, actually we see 444 lots, that's funny, being in a relationship with someone where you share close quarters all the time, like I'm used to kind of being solo, solitary, and I think he was for a long time too. So he and I are both learning not to like step on each other's toes too much, especially in learning how to work together and come together as a team. Before you do that, there are a lot of things you gotta like sort out, and you can't assume, and you need to consciously communicate, these are my goals and these are things I want to do. What are your goals and things you want to do, and not assume that just because you want something that means your partner wants it. So they were things that I was thinking about over the weekend. And Saturn, like I've said many times, is transiting my first, about to be in my second, and it definitely affects me personally. I think a lot of it has to do with like Saturn natally being at the end of my first and almost into my second. It does add this like moroseness to my personality sometimes, where I feel like I can feel that in me, that Saturn in me that makes me want to seem responsible and serious, but I usually fight against that, and I'll be like smiley and hey, and I'm learning that I don't have to be like the smiley like this all the time, and people not believe that I am happy or have joy, or that I'm generally like, kind of just in a lighter state of being. I guess it's difficult for me to figure out a way to do that. And I'm kind of losing what I was about to say with this, but it had something to do with what was happening over the weekend. So I have some of this, like, I'm sure most people on Earth have watched Wednesday now on Netflix, but as we were watching that show, I definitely felt like that to me feels like Saturn in the first house. And I was like, oh my God, I kind of feel like Wednesday. But I was born on a Saturn day, but I feel like I got a little Wednesday in me. But having Saturn in my first house transiting right now, and then natally in my first house, is like Mercury retrograde has heavied me even more, where instead of allowing that, I like fight it, and I want to be like even more like, yeah, ha ha ha, like I just won't let it happen because I don't want to make people around me uncomfortable. And that is something that this book taught me. It's called The Orange Frog. His mother, my partner's mother, gave this to me like when I first got here, and I didn't read it, and then for some reason today I decided to read it, and I was like, oh crap, this is exactly how I feel. So I will be reading that in another episode. I do want to kind of sit and read some books at some point, which is why I made this video in the book corner, because I can just come over here and sit and read something with you guys. But anyway, I'm almost at the end of this video. So over the weekend I was feeling that Saturn energy and feeling it on me, and then that affects sometimes too how people perceive me or how I perceive them. And my partner and I have been learning how to consciously communicate about our wants, needs, and desires. And like I said, you will soon see him on here, but we are taking our time to sit and really decide what it is we want to do, how we want to do it. And even today, I thought he might be in this video, but he's had some really revolutionary things happen to him today that I'm letting him take the time to process, some beautiful shifts and changes for him in his life. But I was looking at YouTube earlier. I was like, what are some like couple idea videos? Like if I'm going to be putting my husband on here more, what should we do? And every person that I looked up for YouTube video ideas was just like so not me, so not what I would want to do to like share my personality and my husband's personality. It felt very gimmicky and very like almost like a reality show. It felt very reality show like, and I just wasn't feeling it. And I was like, the one person who I really loved and like looked up to for like a beautiful conscious co-creating couple on YouTube was Earth Mama Medicine, and her and her partner aren't even together anymore. But I guess I could still look to her in her previous videos, and really what I really enjoyed about them was it wasn't like they were like, hey, welcome to our channel, today we're gonna do this. It was more like they're in their lives and they're sharing what they're learning, what they're experiencing, what they want to do, and also like allowing you into their spiritual truths, beliefs, and practices and things that they were unlearning and relearning. And that's what I want to be like. So I'm going to try and figure out the best way to do that, while also understanding that like I'm just popping him into videos, and I was going to be like, well, let's learn a little bit about him. So if you have any recommendations, please let me know. But the last thing I want to say before Mercury, basically when Mercury retrograde ends is when I'll be getting in here and starting to share singing, starting to share maybe poetry, starting to speak with my partner on things and telling the plans that we have for this year, and speak on the things I believe in, the practices I do, etc. and so on. And I think it makes maybe more sense to do it with my partner sitting next to me, because we've developed some of these practices together, or I've adopted some of his practices and he's adopted some of mine. So yeah, this is going to be probably the last week until retrograde is over. I looked at the calendar, but he and I are working really hard to create a way for us to be creative, to have the space to be creative, to honor each other's creativity, to also honor the debts that we currently owe, paying off Hawaii. There's a lot of little moving parts, and obviously you understand that as well. And I trust that wherever you're at in your January right now, you're taking it as a very conscious time to not maybe make like resolutions, but to set up some like challenges for yourself. And I've been learning that short-term goals is like within a year. Long-term goals is multiple years. So I've been focusing on short-term goals and long-term goals, and trying to understand what it is I really want, what I really desire. And a lot of that can happen by just like trying to make a plan and then seeing how it feels and be like, I don't really like that, or trying another one out and be like, okay, that feels right. Your body will tell you. So yeah, that's all I'm gonna say, because it's getting long and I'm rambling. So thank you for listening, for catching up with me. Hopefully you've taken something from this. Like I said, Mercury retrograde, I can't always share the most like streamline things, or I shouldn't say that I can't, but I'm working on doing that during retrograde time. But I trust that you're taking the rest of this retrograde to sit with yourself, to keep working on your plans and preparing them, so that way when it's over you can just shoot forward. Mars is about to go direct as well, so there's a lot of planetary shifts that are going to be helping us to set ourselves up for success for this year. And I definitely want this year to look different than last year, and the year before that, and the year before that, and the year before that, and continue to grow and change and evolve. So from me and my ring lights, I'm sorry, I'm kind of excited about that. I am wishing you peace and love, and more actual seeds of growth will be shared with you soon. So thank you for continuing during this retrograde time to flow through the changes with me. Until then, as always,